How's it going, YouTube? Quentin today with another video, and today, guys, what the video is going to be the brand new Fairy Tale guide, and I do hope that you enjoyed today's video. This deck has a lot of really crazy one-card combos, and I'm going to be showing off a deck list and going over what the cards do themselves. So definitely go ahead, kick back, and watch this video on the deck that is getting really popular right now, but not a lot of people know what the deck does still, and that's really important come national season, that if you do run into a deck like this, that you are prepared for it. And if you want to play it for the event, that you know exactly what you're getting into. So if you haven't already checked out my sponsors over on Gem, Cloud, Arla, Imperium, Dragonshield, RW, MainPhaze, and Grimoire, definitely go ahead and do so down below in the description. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so we can hit our goal at 30,000. And without further ado, let's hop right into the very first Fairy Tale cards. The first one I have today is Luna, the second one's Matchgiru. Now, Luna is really solid. It's not once per turn, it's only on normal summon, but you get to do that a few times. And you add a Spellcaster 1850, not just a Fairy Tale card. So this is going to be adding things like Genie of the Ring, which we'll get into. But Luna is also an interruption, being able to bounce itself and your opponent's monster unless they send the same monster from the deck or extra deck to the graveyard, which you kind of time this correctly when you know that either your opponent has already the other copy of something engraved and you know they can't send something, or just having deck knowledge around the format. Most people only play things like one Mirror Jade, right? So if you have Luna and you target their Mirror Jade, a lot of times you know that you're going to be able to bounce the Mirror Jade because they're not going to be able to just like send another. No one plays more than one. So that's where it's really important to know what the standard deck lists are. And if you run into any variants of deck lists, what the new ratios of those cards would be. Now for Matchgiru, this card is an overall very good extender. This card allows you to free summon itself if there's an 1850 spellcaster on the board, and then also add a Fairy Tale Spoiler Trap or a Fairy Tale Tales. This card is really solid just for the ability to keep going in your turn, but also non-targeting, you can pay 500, and then you can rename an effect monster your opponent controls to Prince of Fairies. Now, Prince of Fairies is not a real card. This deck still is based off of being able to change your opponent's monster's name to Prince of Fairies, which is important because when you go to summon Teller, if you use a Prince of Fairies for Teller, you nuke your entire opponent's board and then burn them for every card. So it's really effective once you get going. But the other thing too that I learned as a ruling is that if something's always treated as, right? So like Ejector, always treated as Elemental Hero. You have Walbaz, always treated as Fallen of Albaz. If you make it Prince of Fairies, it is no longer always treated as that card. It is Prince of Fairies. So that does come up quite a lot and more than you would think. But that is a really crazy thing to know because when we get into cards like Ball, being able to change things to Prince of Fairies on your opponent's turn is really nuts. Now, we all know what Snow does, but Genie of the Ring is a very good card for the deck. Not only can you recur it once it's banished, which is huge because that gives you another card that you can just like free banish for Snow and get back, but it's also just a free summon extender. So this is an extremely important card for the deck, and it's something that you want to run 1 to 2 of. Now, the next thing is going to be talking about the other most important card of the deck, which is Tales of the Fairy Tales. This is your way to fuse. So not only does the equipped monster gain 1,000 attack, which is a really big deal that we'll talk about in a moment, but you can also fusion summon, which is solid, but you can also use Prince of Fairies your opponent controls as material. So this is where that becomes a really big deal. Additionally, if this card's in your graveyard, you can equip it to a Fairy Tale monster on the field, then immediately after this resolves, normal summon a Spellcaster 1850. So in the combo, you'll see this is how you get an additional normal summon of Luna to be able to get an additional search, and usually you're grabbing something like Snow. Now, the other most important card of the deck, this card is absolutely broken, Fairy Tale Ball. When this card is activated, you can add a Fairy Tale monster or 1 Fairy Tale Tales from your deck or banishment to your hand. Now, we don't play Tales. That card is horrible. You just don't play it. Their cards search in this deck is just really bad. We don't play that card. Your Fairy Tale monsters can attack directly. If you have 3 1850s, and then you have an additional 1850 that you have equipped with the equip spell, that's lethal. And that happens a lot. And if you have Ball up, it's just game through any board. It's crazy when you attack through like the biggest board because they simply cannot stop you from attacking directly, right? So this is a really big deal. The other thing is once per turn, if your opponent special summons a monster and you control a Fairy Tale, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and becomes Prince of Fairies. Now, much like Genie of the Ring, this card is insane with Snow because if it gets banished, you are allowed to reset it. And then also, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can also reset it, which is really good. This card has a lot of utility in the deck. But the crazy effect of this is special summon up to one light fairy from your hand, grave, and banishment. And this comes up to summon like multiple Luna and a Snow, which is really, really crazy interruption. This card is very strong. Now, these cards will come up in the video that you'll see in the combos. You have a lot of like the Magistus cards and the Witchcrafter cards, and I'll kind of explain those more so as they come up later on. And then you have the extra deck, which is going to be your Teller and your Weaver, and we'll talk about the Exceed in a moment. Teller is really solid, protects your Fairy Tales from battle. It's also your Omni Negate. And then again, if something is Prince of Fairies, you are allowed to go ahead and just like nuke your opponent's board, which is crazy. This card is so good. It's also a 4, so if you can like start off your turn with a Fairy Tale Engrave, you just have an Omni immediately with Instant Fusion, which is also really solid. But if you're going to be using Instant Fusion, a lot of times it's on the one here on the right, which is Weaver. This card's a very strong card for the deck. Being able to make all Prince of Fairy monsters on the field a Spellcaster monster specifically as well, which is really good too. And then during your main phase, you can special summon a Fairy Tale from your deck or Banishment, so you can recur from Banish pretty easy because the deck wants to be able to work around Snow as much as possible. And then if you normal summon or special summon a non-Earth Fairy Tale while this card's in your monster zone, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, and it becomes Prince of Fairies. So this card is if you do it, and then the ball is if your opponent does it, right? So they both work really well when they're left on the board together because your opponent's monsters are about to start becoming Prince of Fairies real quick. Now, the most important card of the deck, this is like the heart and soul of the deck, the most important card so broken, is Wiccat. This card does way too much for the deck. It's so good. Each Fairy Tale monster you control whose original attribute is light is unaffected by the opponent's card effects. I cannot tell you the amount of times that this comes up. Snow is unaffected. Luna is unaffected, right? Like you have some very good utility that is just unaffected. So that is something that you really want to keep in mind. And then you can detach 2, and then you can foolish 2 Fairy Tale cards. That is insane value, and you'll see that's a very crucial part of the combo here in a moment. But the other thing, if this card's in your graveyard, quick effect, target a Fairy Tale that you control whose original attribute is light, special summon this card, send that card to the graveyard. So this allows you to go summon Snow, you book something, then you go Wiccat, get rid of the Snow, summon Snow again, right? So really, really strong and allows you to get to your combo pieces and also makes your Lunas and Snows unaffected. As a part of your end board, a lot of times what you want to do is use the Charmer Quartet and Bloom to get rid of your Omni Negates and then bring them back with the Charmer Quartet and Bloom because it's going to save you from being super polyed. Because the monsters that are summoned back cannot be used as material. The other thing is that you're going to be summoning Cosmo Queen off of Summon Sork and then bringing it back with the Charmer Quartet and Bloom, popping your ball, and then just searching Secret Village. Now, much like Cosmo Queen, we are summoning Witch of the Black Forest off of Summon Sork so that we can search Droll. This is obviously just another really crazy way to put up another Floodgate. And this deck is known as like the Floodgate deck, but it is a lot better than just that. You can extend pretty crazy. You have a lot of recursion. You have a lot of follow-up. I really like this deck for what it can do. You also play the Regulus engine now, which is crazy. If you have the Empire and you have a Regulus in hand or on field, it just protects your field from destruction. Or if you get like battled over, you can just like replace it with the Regulus, which is really good. Comes up a lot, especially if you're playing against like Mitsurugi. And you have Super Poly because you're already playing Chorozo. So you only really need to play like Theseus and like a Mud Dragon. But Chorozo is like the ultimate Super Poly target for the deck, which is really cool. And in the mirror match too, if you can like Super Poly into Weaver, it's pretty crazy. I talked to my teammate Craig about it, where you can just like Weaver summon Snow, right? And then you have like the Weaver effect and you have the Snow effect, which is really strong. But let's go into some combos and show you exactly what the deck can do. Starting off, we have Luna. This is really solid because you just go Luna into Genia, which is going to be the free summon, overlay into Wiccat. Now, Wiccat dumping 2, this is going to be the most crucial part of the combo. You're always dumping Tails and Matchgiru if you don't already have them, because this is going to be the most important pieces to the combo. So you're going to summon out the Match is going to get Ball is going to get Luna, attach the equip spell, which gives you an additional normal summon, and then the Luna will search Snow. Now, this is how you get Snow in a graveyard. You'll use the Tails to go into your Teller, which is going to put up a Omni negation immediately. So now we're going to link off and go into our Artemis, and then use the Artemis and our Luna to go into the Crescent. Now, this is how you bridge the engines, because here, what we're going to do is attach the Artemis and then use Artemis. Artemis is now going to grab Spoon. Spoon's going to grab the Crowley, but you're not going to use the effect to special summon Crowley. That's a really important step here. So what we're going to do instead is use Spoon to equip another Artemis, and then use both, and then go into Trozo just to link off and go Summon Sork. Now, Summon Sork is going to give our opponent the Crowley, and then summon out the Zora, then go directly into the Quartet. Quartet's going to bring back Zorora and the Luna. Now, this is going to be extremely important for technical play reasons. Now you'll use the Zorora to equip whatever Magistus you have in your extra deck. It doesn't matter which one it is. Then you'll use the Zorora to bring back a level 4. Now for Trozo, you'll send whatever was equipped to Zorora first, and then you'll send Zorora. And then you're able to summon the Trozo here. So next up, we're going to be using Wiccat to target the Luna, and then chaining Luna to bounce the Crowley. This is also extremely important because you get max value out of your cards. So you're going to summon out the Wiccat, and then you're going to get the effect of Crowley to summon itself. Crowley effect's going to fuse off here to go into your other negate. Summon Snow out here, and then use Genia to add back. And then now you can overlay all 3 into the Alchemaic Magician. And in the end phase, you're going to be able to set any spell card from deck. Usually you want it to be like a Super Poly or like a Call By, right? Like something that's a quick play that you can use on your opponent's turn. But this way, you're ending with 2 negations. You have the Alchemaic Magician, you have Ball, you have a ton of cards in hand that you haven't used yet. You have Snow Engrave. You have a lot of access to a lot of things. If you hard open things like Match, then you can dump the Once Upon a Fairy Tale off the Wiccat, and then you'll have that 2 here. It really just depends on what the rest of your hand was when you started. But this is all off of 1 Luna, which is kind of wild. But GG, what if I just open Match? What does Match do? Well, shout out to my friend Davon, because he's going to show you what Match does by itself. So this is really cool because I didn't even know this line. But you're going to bring back the Match here. You're going to go into your Crescent. And then this looks pretty familiar, right? So this is pretty nuts, though, what he ends up doing with this end board. So you're going to go into your Trozo, summon back the Match, and now you're going to go Wiccat dump. So you're still getting to a lot of your cards here. Summon Sort, give them the Crowley, goes Aurora. Bring both back, go into Wiccat, and then chain the Luna to be able to add back the Crowley. Now you're going to be able to get the Crowley out, Crowley effect to go into your negate, and then go ahead and equip to special, and then use the Tails here, get the additional normal, get the Snow, right? So we're cooking. Get to your Teller. So again, Trozo bypasses the material restriction because it's like the special summon the same way that you can send things under Crown. This came up at the YCS the same way that you can send things for like Alba. So it just bypasses anything to do with that restriction. So now we're going to summon out the Trozo and then use Snow. So Snow is going to go ahead and summon here, and then use the Once Upon, of course, to go ahead and set. Now you're going to go into the Synchro, and then use the Fusion to put the Trozo back in the spell trap. So now we have the Synchro with Exceed Synchro Fusion to lock your opponent out of all 3, and you have double negate with Snow, which is pretty wild because you also have the Once Upon a Fairy Tale. So you have Luna banished and you have Snow Engrave. So you don't even have to use the snow right away. You can just use this to bring back Luna and snow to get double interruption, and then use the Wiccat to send the snow and then use snow again. So just off of the match alone, if you're playing the synchro, this is a pretty wild end board that you get to do. But once again, here's a list, and I really do hope that you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, definitely let me know down below in the comment section, and I'll check you all in the next one. Thank you.